Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were three of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Queen Camilla's and Princess Diana's relationship has always been highly publicized due to the dramatic love triangle between both women and King Charles. While things may have been complicated between the three, a surprising revelation has surfaced from an inside source. Allegedly, Queen Camilla and Princess Diana had a phone conversation just days before Diana's tragic passing. This raises the big question: what exactly was the call about? Did they finally make amends, or was it about something else entirely? Join us as we uncover all the details. One unexpected phone call. Love triangles are ugly, and they are just as dramatic as they sound, with one party getting hurt at the end of the day. And there was a widely publicized one back in the 1980s that has remained on people's lips from then up to this very moment. The triangle between Queen Camilla, Princess Diana, and King Charles was perfectly summed up when Princess Diana famously said, "There were three of us in this relationship," and as time would tell, she wasn't wrong. Now, following all the drama, everyone thought both women were sworn enemies. But, well, our thoughts were wrong. Only recently, inside sources have revealed that there was indeed a last call between the two women, one filled with shouting, as well as moments that were really touching and calm. Now, if you're curious to find out the details of the phone call, sit tight. While the timeline of the exact relationship between Princess Diana and Queen Camilla might be a bit unknown, what we know for sure is that the two women didn't have problems with each other until a man came into the picture. And you guessed who that man is. That's right, it's none other than King Charles. Obviously, the friendship between Camilla and Diana didn't exactly blossom before Diana and Charles got married to watch their, well, shared man compete. But before we get into all the details of the phone call, let's lay down the basis. Back in 1980, during her notorious BBC Panorama interview, the People's Princess famously said, "There were three of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." And boy, she didn't not lie. Now, following this interview, there was a more private interaction that took place between Princess Diana and Camilla Parker Bowles during a 1987 party regarding her and Charles's affair. Diana attended the gathering, which was hosted by Camilla's sister, Annabelle Elliott, despite not being close with any of the other guests, according to Diana's former bodyguard, Ken Worf. In Diana, her true story, Andrew Morton wrote that Diana described herself as a fish out of water at the party, though she had decided to try her hardest. During an interview with ITV, Worf recalled the tension that arose when Diana arrived, which surprised many of the partygoers. He noted that Diana did not have any particular friendships at the party, but upon her arrival, it felt as though time had frozen in a movie scene because of the surprise that she had even shown up. About an hour later, things became even more heated when Diana grabbed Worf and told him that she could not find her husband or Parker Bowles. Worf admitted that he could not refuse her request since she was clearly in distress. Eventually, they found Prince Charles and Camilla sitting on a sofa in the basement of the property, simply talking. In that moment, Worf recalled, Diana gathered the confidence to confront Parker Bowles for the first time. Addressing both of them, she told Camilla not to treat her like an idiot, saying that she knew exactly what was going on. According to Morton's biography, Diana also remarked that the situation must have been hell for both of them, before adding to Parker Bowles that she had not been born yesterday. Even more confounding was Camilla's response. Worf admitted that he still was not quite sure what Parker Bowles had meant by her statement. He revealed that Camilla had replied with a comment he never fully understood, telling Diana that she had two wonderful boys. Although it had been an awkward exchange, Worf maintained that this was exactly how the events unfolded. As tensions simmered beneath the surface of Diana's confrontation with Camilla, it became clear that this was not just a fleeting moment of marital discord. It was the unraveling of a carefully concealed truth. The pain and betrayal she felt that night were not born in an instant, but had roots that stretched back years, to a time before Diana had even entered the picture. The bitter history. Diana thought Charles and Camilla were just friends, and found out about their history only after she said yes to his proposal.
Next to it, Charles and I can't go wrong. He's there with me.
They met and fell in love in their early 20s, enjoying a blissful 18-month romance
Realise it was very special to me.
in which the young Prince Charles pursued Camilla with elaborately worded love notes and late-night telephone chats. Why then did he end up marrying Lady Diana Spencer instead? This is the question that has lingered on everyone's mind. But it seems like the answer to this question might be far-fetched. 34 years after their first meeting, the Prince of Wales and Camilla Parker Bowles were finally married on the 9th of April, 2005. Their long-term relationship as friends and lovers was summed up in the Sunday Telegraph's headline, "Husband and Wife at Last." At the reception of their wedding at Windsor Castle, Prince Charles's mother, Queen Elizabeth II, in front of 800 guests, offered a toast to the newlyweds, where she expressed that despite the fact that the couple have faced a lot of obstacles, they have come through, referring to Camilla as the woman Charles really loved. Not surprisingly, the Queen, a lover of horses and horse racing, used racing references as she welcomed Camilla into the family. Becker's Brook and the Chair are fences at the Aintree Racecourse, where the Grand National takes place. It was in the summer of 1971 when Prince Charles, then 22, first met Camilla Rosemary Shand, who was 24. A legend has been fostered that the couple were introduced at a polo match at Smith's Lawn in Windsor. But, according to Jonathan Dimbleby's authorized biography, The Prince of Wales, the introduction was in fact made by a mutual friend, Lucia Santa Cruz, daughter of the Chilean ambassador to the United Kingdom, whom Charles had met when he was a student at Cambridge. It was reportedly an instant attraction between Charles and Camilla. During an 18-month period, their friendship blossomed into a love affair. They shared a lot in common, including an appreciation for the comedy of The Goon Show, a BBC radio series devised by Spike Milligan. Charles also liked that Camilla was very much at home in the country with horses and hunting. But this is where it got complicated. Camilla had been involved in an on and off relationship with Andrew Parker Bowles, an officer in the Royal Horse Guard, that began when she was 17. But Andrew was said to have a roving eye and was involved with several women at the same time. In 1970, he dated Charles's younger sister, Princess Anne, as they shared a common interest in horses. But marriage between the pair was out of the question, as Andrew was Roman Catholic. Charles pursued Camilla with elaborately worded love notes and late-night telephone chats. He thought about proposing marriage in November 1972, but was hesitant about taking the next step because he was too uncertain about his feelings to ask Camilla to marry him. Camilla and Charles' last weekend together was spent at the Hampshire estate Broadlands in mid-December 1972. His great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten, was the only family member in whom Charles had confided about Camilla. Charles knew that his parents would not approve of the relationship. This view was supported by his godmother, Patricia, 2nd Countess Mountbatten of Burma, who later told biographer Giles Brandreth that the marriage wouldn't have been possible. Not then. Camilla had a history, and you didn't want a past that hung about. Charles wrote to Lord Mountbatten lamenting that this was the last time I shall see her for 8 months, after he and Camilla parted after their final weekend together. As a part of his naval service career, Charles joined the HMS Minerva in mid-January 1973 for a 7-month voyage in the Caribbean. He was in the West Indies when he received the news that Camilla had become engaged to Andrew Parker Bowles on the 15th of March. He wrote to his great-uncle of his disappointment that such a blissful, peaceful, and mutually happy relationship would come to an end. Charles's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and Princess Anne attended Camilla and Andrew's wedding at Guards Chapel, Wellington Barracks, on the 4th of July, 1973. Charles sent his regrets, as he was still serving on the Minerva. Arrangements could have been made to fly back to London for the wedding, but it would probably have been difficult for Charles to watch Camilla walk down the aisle and marry Andrew. As Camilla settled into her new life as Mrs. Parker Bowles, raising their 2 children, Tom and Laura, in the country, her friendship with Charles remained platonic for some time. The years that followed, which Charles would later refer to as his Footloose years,
how many times have I found myself saying this over recent years?
were a time when he was linked with numerous women, most notably Davina Sheffield, Amanda Knatchbull, Anna Wallace, and Lady Sarah Spencer, Diana's sister. Many believed that Davina Sheffield had a real chance to marry Charles, but this was scuppered when a former boyfriend spoke to the press about their relationship. Charles was in Iceland when he learned that Lord Mountbatten had been assassinated by the IRA in August 1979. It was with Camilla Parker Bowles that he sought consolation for his grief. Indeed, Camilla was the only person to whom he could talk about anything. She was his best friend, his soulmate, and, after the death of his great-uncle, lover. This second affair, which royal biographer Penny Junor believes started the year previous, in early 1978, shortly after the birth of Camilla's second child, Laura, lasted until Charles's engagement to Diana in 1981. In 1980, the Duchy of Cornwall purchased Highgrove House, near Tetbury in Gloucestershire, as a country home for the Prince of Wales. The estate was only 11 miles away from Bolhide Manor, Camilla and Andrew's home in Wiltshire. The purchase of the estate was an investment in his future, as Charles wanted nothing more than a normal family life, according to Lady Mountbatten. Now, while Charles and Camilla's relationship was somewhat blossoming, we can't help but wonder why he moved from Camilla to a commoner. Charles first took notice of Lady Diana Spencer in 1977. He thought her jolly when he visited Althorpe, the Spencer estate, in 1977, when he was dating her older sister, Lady Sarah. This relationship came to an end in early 1978. Lady Sarah and Charles were skiing at the Swiss resort Cloisters when Sarah decided to have lunch with 2 British journalists. There she talked about her drinking and her battles with anorexia. But perhaps most damaging of the kamikaze remarks, as the journalist Tina Brown described her interviews, was her discussion of the Prince of Wales. "He is a fabulous person, but I am not in love with him," she said, "and I wouldn't marry anyone I didn't love, whether he were a dustman or the King of England." Shortly before one of the interviews was published in Woman's Own, Lady Sarah told Charles she had spoken to the press. Charles's response was cold and right to the point. "You've just done something extremely stupid." Lady Sarah did not realize it at the time, but she had inadvertently made it possible for Charles to pursue her younger sister, Diana. Later that year, both Lady Sarah, who was by now Charles's ex-girlfriend, and Lady Diana received invitations to Charles's 30th birthday party at Buckingham Palace. The Parker Bowles were also guests at the party. In the summer of 1980, Philip de Pass, a friend of Diana's, invited her to a house party that his parents were hosting at their home, New Grove, near Petworth. He added that the Prince of Wales was the guest of honor. It was at de Pass's house party where Charles first saw Diana Spencer as a potential girlfriend. Sitting next to each other on a bale of hay at a post-polo barbecue, Diana broached the topic of Lord Mountbatten's funeral and told Charles that "it was the most tragic thing I've ever seen. My heart bled for you when I watched. I thought, it's wrong. You're lonely. You should be with somebody to look after you." It was Diana's innocence and her sympathetic nature that first caught Charles's attention. They saw each other on and off for the next few months. In the first week of August 1980, Charles invited her to join his party on the royal yacht Britannia for the sailboat races at Cowes on the Isle of Wight. 1 month later, Diana was invited to Balmoral, where she stayed with her sister, Lady Jane Fellows, who was married to the Queen's assistant private secretary, Robert Fellows, as they had a grace and favor home on the Balmoral estate. This invitation came from the Queen at Charles's request. Diana later recalled, "I was frightened because I had never stayed at Balmoral, and I wanted to get it right." Others at Balmoral included Parker Bowles and other friends of the Prince of Wales. Charles sought out Camilla's advice as he weighed the pros and cons of a marriage with Diana. On paper, Diana had all the right attributes, daughter of an earl with royal connections, and she did not have a past. That is, there were no worries about former boyfriends flogging their stories to the tabloids. Yet, Charles had his doubts. But as the media frenzy grew, his father, Prince Philip, took matters into his own hands. He sent his son a letter advising him that it was time to make a decision: propose to Diana or let her go. Charles wanted to do the right thing for this country and for my family. He proposed to Diana at Windsor Castle on the 6th of February, 1981. She accepted without hesitation, although she had already suspected that Camilla Parker Bowles was more than Charles's best friend. One of Camilla's friends told biographer Giles Brandreth that Camilla had encouraged Charles to marry Diana, yet Diana was suspicious of Camilla's guidance. But Charles, according to Dimbleby, tried to reassure Diana that Camilla had once been an intimate friend. But now, as he was going to marry her, there was, and there would be, no other woman in his life. Both Charles and Camilla accepted that their affair had come to an end, yet they remained close friends, as Camilla remained a touchstone and confidant. In what many describe as the wedding of the century, Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer were married on the 29th of July, 1981, at St. Paul's Cathedral. The couple had two sons, William, born in 1982, and Harry, born in 1984, before the first fissures in their marriage began to appear. Apart from their children, Charles and Diana had few shared interests. By 1986, the marriage had collapsed. Two mutual friends, concerned for Charles, independently contacted Camilla and urged her to reach out to him. She picked up the phone to Charles, and their friendship restarted from there. Some years later, Charles would later confirm that Mrs. Parker Bowles was a good friend, but insisted he had been faithful to Diana until their marriage had irretrievably broken down. Charles's marriage to Princess Diana was dissolved in 1996. A year later, Diana was killed in a car accident in Paris. It was not until January 1999 that Charles and Camilla made their first public appearance together. Their engagement was announced on the 10th of February 2005, followed by the civil wedding and service of blessing at Windsor on the 9th of April, where they acknowledged their manifold sins and wickedness. Their wedding, though unconventional, marked the beginning of a new chapter, one in which Camilla would step into a more prominent royal role. But who exactly is the woman who captured Charles's heart and eventually became the Duchess of Cornwall? Who is the Duchess of Cornwall? Camilla Rosemary Shand, known today as the Duchess of Cornwall, was born on July 17, 1947, at King's College Hospital in London. Her family split their time between the Lanes, an 18th-century country house in Plumpton, Owys, Sussex, and their London residence in South Kensington. Her parents were Major Bruce Shand, a British Army officer turned businessman, and Rosalind Shand, daughter of Roland Cubitt, 3rd Baron Ashcombe. Camilla grew up with a younger sister, Annabel Elliot, and a younger brother, Mark Shand. Interestingly, one of her maternal great-grandmothers, Alice Keppel, was a mistress of King Edward VII, a historical connection that would later draw comparisons to her own love story. Rosalind was deeply involved in charity work, volunteering at the Chailey Heritage Foundation, which supported children with disabilities. Her father, Bruce, was a partner in a well-known wine merchant business, first with Block, Gray and Block in Mayfair, and later with Ellis, Son and Vidler. On November 1, 1947, Camilla was baptized at St. Peter's Church in Firle, East Sussex. From a young age, Camilla was an avid reader, a passion instilled in her by her father, who read to her frequently. She also had a deep love for animals, growing up surrounded by dogs and cats. Her passion for horseback riding began early. She joined pony club camps and participated in local gymkhanas, winning rosettes. At 5, Camilla was sent to Dumbrells, a co-educational school in the village of Ditchling. At 10, she enrolled at Queen's Gate School in London, where classmates knew her as Mila. Among her peers was the singer Twinkle, Lynn Ripley, who later described her as a girl with inner strength and a magnetic confidence. One of her teachers, the celebrated writer Penelope Fitzgerald, recalled her as bright and lively. Camilla left Queen's Gate in 1964 with just one O-level. Her parents did not insist she stay for A-levels. Instead, at 16, she attended Montfertil Finishing School in Tolochenaz, Switzerland. After completing her studies there, she spent 6 months studying French and French literature at the British Institute in Paris. On March 25, 1965, she made her debut in London's high society, joining 311 other debutantes that year. Moving away from home, she shared a small flat in Kensington with her friend Jane Wyndham, the niece of decorator Nancy Lancaster. Later, she upgraded to a larger Belgravia flat, living first with Lady Moira Campbell, daughter of the 4th Duke of Abercorn, and later with Virginia Carrington, daughter of the 6th Baron Carrington. Interestingly, Virginia was married to Camilla's uncle, Lord Ashcombe, from 1973 to 1979, and later became a special aide to Camilla and Charles in 2005. Camilla worked as a secretary for various firms in the West End, before taking a job as a receptionist at the decorating company Sybil Colfax and John Fowler in Mayfair. However, she was reportedly fired for coming in late after a night of dancing. In her free time, she continued her passion for horse riding, attended equestrian events, and dabbled in painting, though she later admitted that most of her artwork ended up in the bin. She also had a strong interest in fishing, horticulture, and gardening. In the late 1960s, she met Andrew Parker Bowles, a lieutenant in the Blues and Royals. The connection came through his younger brother Simon, who worked for her father's wine firm. Their relationship was on and off for several years. In 1973, their engagement was unexpectedly announced in the Times, reportedly orchestrated by their parents, without their direct consent. This forced Andrew's hand, and he proposed. Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles on July 4, 1973, in a grand Roman Catholic ceremony at the Guards Chapel, Wellington Barracks, London. At 25, she was marrying into a well-connected family. Her wedding dress was designed by Belleville Sassoon, and her bridesmaids included Lady Emma Herbert. The event was the Society Wedding of the Year, attended by 800 guests, including Queen Elizabeth II's daughter, Princess Anne, Princess Margaret, and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. The couple settled in Wiltshire, purchasing Bolhide Manor in Allington before later moving to Middlewick House in Corsham. They had 2 children, Tom Parker Bowles, born on December 18, 1974, and Laura Parker Bowles, born on January 1, 1978. Tom, who became a well-known food writer,
ate normal food. They like puddings, they like cakes, they like tea.
Is a godson of King Charles III.
Was killed alongside his young grandson and my godson Nicholas and his friend Paul Maxwell.
Though both children were raised Catholic due to their father's faith, Camilla remained an Anglican. Despite their outwardly stable life, Camilla and Andrew's marriage eventually crumbled. In December 1994, after 21 years together, they initiated divorce proceedings, citing irreconcilable differences and years of living separately. Following her divorce, Camilla's long-standing relationship with Charles became more public. By this point, Charles was determined to integrate her into his life, declaring their relationship non-negotiable. Aware of the public backlash, he hired Mark Bolland to manage their image and help rehabilitate Camilla's standing with the press. In 1997, Camilla was involved in a head-on car accident while driving to Highgrove House. Fortunately, she and the other driver escaped without major injuries. Over the next few years, Camilla gradually transitioned into a more public role. In 1999, she and Charles made their first official public appearance together at the Ritz London Hotel for her sister's birthday. The event attracted intense media attention, with hundreds of photographers capturing the moment. By 2000, she was accompanying Charles on trips to Scotland for official engagements. The same year, she became president of the Royal Osteoporosis Society, a role that introduced her to the public beyond her relationship with Charles. That same year, she had a significant meeting with Queen Elizabeth II at the 60th birthday celebration of the former Greek king, Constantine II. This encounter was widely seen as the Queen's implicit approval of her son's relationship. Camilla's presence at royal events increased over time. In 2002, during the Queen's Golden Jubilee celebrations, she was invited to sit in the royal box behind the Queen. Charles even privately funded 2 full-time security staff for her. By 2003, Camilla moved into Clarence House, Charles's official residence. By 2004, she was attending nearly all of Charles's official engagements, including a high-profile visit to the annual Highland Games in Scotland. Speculation about their engagement grew, with public opinion polls showing increased support for their marriage. Despite this, Camilla continued to face backlash from Diana's supporters, many of whom viewed her as a homewrecker. Negative opinions were voiced in letters to newspapers, and online social media trolls created fake fan pages dedicated to Diana to mock Camilla. Over the years, however, public perception gradually shifted. By the time she and Charles were officially married, Camilla had cemented her place in the royal family. In 2023, The Independent named her the most influential woman of the year, and she appeared on the list again in 2024. Camilla's journey from an aristocratic young woman to the most controversial royal partner in modern history, and finally to a widely accepted royal figure, has been nothing short of remarkable. Whether you love her or not, one thing is clear: she has cemented her place in history. What do you think of Queen Camilla? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.